What's up guys, it's Criddle here from the AnimeBallZ team, and this time we are going to start doing a little new thing called, well, manga reviews. Manga individual chapter reviews. I don't want to do a manga reviews because that would be Hey Manga, and this isn't Hey Manga. This is essentially me going to be going through whatever the most recent chapter of X series is. Now, me being me and me being into the series that I am into means that I am into One Piece, so we're going to start by reviewing One Piece. So straight off the bat, we're going to kick into the most recent chapter of One Piece, chapter 786, simply titled as Gats. So the splash page for this one is just Law, Luffy and a monkey basically fighting. Luffy and the monkey are trying to feed Law bread. Law has cut the monkey in half using his shambles, and this is just one of those user submitted ones. So the Jinbei story has finished. Presumably Jinbei will eventually meet up with the crew, hopefully during the Big Mom arc, because he knows that they're going to tackle Big Mom. He doesn't know that they've obviously met up with Law, done the whole Punk Hazard thing, and are now in Dressrosa fighting off Don Flamingo. Speaking of this, Don Flamingo is currently embedded in a wall after Luffy sort of gear forthed him into that wall with his bounce man, or whatever it's called, form. Gear 4 is pretty friggin' fantastic. I mean, it's a nice, awesome thing, and I love the fact that Luffy is able to punch and sort of just adjust the direction of his arm midway through with what looks to be a Geppo or a Skywalk type move in his own arm. So essentially he can do what Sanji can do, but with his individual arms, and the bouncing as well will obviously aid with moving around a lot. So it's also revealed that Luffy can't stop bouncing while he's in this form, so he's just going to keep bouncing until the time runs out. Don Flamingo is not moving at all, so everyone starts celebrating. They're all like, yes, this is amazing, our saviour is this Straw Hat Luffy. A few people make comments like, he looks a lot scarier than his wanted posters. I heard he was 8 feet tall, he's scarcely over 4 feet tall, stuff like that. And while people are celebrating, they suddenly look up, the birdcage is still there, which means Don Flamingo has not yet been defeated. At this point, Don Flamingo cracks a massive smile and the birdcage starts to contract. So people start to fly into a panic. Luffy then goes, you know what, stuff this, I'm going for the kill. He basically charges in, pulls back his fist, and then loses all his power. He comes crashing to the ground, just completely, almost near death, completely just about passed out, and Jesus Burgess jumps basically from the very top of everything that was lifted up by, I'm pretty sure, Picker's ability. Everything was pulled out of the ground, and now Burgess has jumped down. He's like, yes, Luffy is on death's door. I am going to go kill him, and then the Gomu Gomu no Mi will be mine. He is wanting to steal Luffy's fruit, presumably for himself, because Blackbeard has already shown that he has got his own Devil's Fruit and has used his darkness powers to essentially create a black hole where he's completely absorbed Whitebeard's fruit. So I think the only way for him to absorb powers or to gain more Devil Fruit abilities will be to actually completely envelope someone. Hopefully at this point in time, because he already had a Logia and a Paramecia type, that Blackbeard will actually get a Zoan type, but that's, you know, separate to this. Either way, Burgess is, you know, jumping into the fray. He wants to get involved and kill Luffy, finish things off, and take the Devil Fruit power. How he's going to do that, I don't know. I guess he just wants to kill him so the fruit regenerates. Anyway, at this same time, Koala calls out to Sabo and says, hey Sabo, can you hear me? And we don't see anything at this at the moment. So we just got Koala who is calling Sabo, I assume to alert the fact that Jesus is going after Luffy. As Luffy is trying to get up, realizing that he has to still defeat Don Flamingo, he reveals that he's basically at death's door. He's about to pass out and he's going to be no use to anyone. He starts to fall, is caught by Gats, who is the announcer and obviously the title of this chapter. He's the announcer from the tournament. Turns around and says, hey, I recognize you. You fight the exact same way that Lucy did in the arena. You are Lucy, correct? And Luffy's like, yeah, I am. And it's like, can you actually defeat Don Flamingo? Luffy reveals that his haki will actually regenerate within 10 minutes. So he needs 10 minutes time just to recover, but obviously on his own there's no way he can do that because he doesn't know what Don Flamingo is going to do in that 10 minutes. It's kind of like the drawback that Gear 3rd had. We haven't seen any drawbacks from Gear 2nd or Gear 3rd at this point. Granted, Gear 2nd has not been used to the extent that it was against, say, Rob Lucci or against Gecko Moria. We haven't seen those sort of long-lasting effects where he ends up in the same position as Chopper, where he physically can't move. This looks just straight into the point where he just is very worn out, needs 10 minutes to recover his haki so he can go back into Gear 4th and then be able to do this sort of the pullback punch, create a vacuum and then punch out from that, which is amazing. And I love this ability that Luffy has generated with his haki ability. So 10 minutes is what he needs. Gats turns around and says, right, you need 10 minutes? We'll give you 10 minutes. Every single one of the participants from the Coliseum who pretty much shunned Luffy when he was Lucy and just basically didn't think anything of him, apologizes and states they're going to fight for him. They are going to hold back Don Flamingo long enough for Luffy to recover. If they die in that time frame, then so be it, but they will do everything in their power to make sure that Luffy survives. Gats calls out and says, okay, half of you go fight Don Flamingo, half of you come with me to protect Luffy. As they're running off to protect Luffy, Burgess shows up and he's just like, haha, I'm going to kill you now, Luffy. Gats freaks out. He's like, oh my god, it's Burgess. What the hell are we meant to do? This is the current champion of the Coliseum. At this exact moment, as Burgess goes in for the attack, Sabo shows up. He is there to save the day, and ending off with the Luffy, you are not alone, as the little caption thing at the end of the chapter. And that's where we're left off. So where are we going to be with the next couple of chapters? Obviously we're going to need to have Luffy have his 10 minutes, which will basically be a case of a lot of people getting massacred by Don Flamingo. These will all be tournament participants. I don't see any big faces showing up, so Cabbage isn't going to jump in to save the day. Luffy's biggest fan, Bartolomeo, is not going to jump in and sort of save the day or anything like that. I don't see any of the major Straw Hats jumping in, so Zoro I think is way too far away to be able to do this after he went through Pika's head. I don't physically think that he will be able to do anything with this. And, you know, Sogeking, despite being God Usopp, which I haven't covered that chapter obviously because I'm just starting this now, God Usopp is probably my favourite thing that has happened since probably Usopp versus Perona. Just Usopp's ability to have his weakness become his greatest strength, and the fact that he's now scared basically his last two major opponents into submission, that makes me laugh. I think it's absolutely fantastic that Usopp has gone down this path. Anyway, as for predictions for moving forward, yeah, we're going to have a lot more violence. Don Flamingo is the last member of this group left. Luffy just needs enough time to recover so he can go back into Gear 4th and lay this smackdown on Don Flamingo and finish things off. He knows that one more attack will be enough to finish Don Flamingo, and in the birdcage, obviously that's what's going to happen. I don't imagine Sabo or Trafalgar Law, who is currently just pretty much incapacitated. I don't see anyone else taking the win away from Luffy, but I know that as soon as this arc's over, there's not going to be any time for rest, because we've still got to have all the stuff to do with Big Mom. We haven't seen anything from Sanji, Nami, Chubba and Brook for months. These characters have just sort of been sitting on the wayside, not doing anything. I think they've been captured by Big Mom. It's been really ambiguous at this point in time. They may have used a coup de burst to get away, but even so, they're nowhere near Dressrosa, so we're in a very particular situation. Either way, Don Flamingo is definitely going to lose his Shichibukai status. Whether or not this means that Law will still definitely lose his status, it begs the question. I know that Luffy's been on the radar of the world government for a very long time. I know that, for example, Kuma was sent to Thriller Bark to warn Moria because of essentially the waves that Luffy is making in the world. The fact that Luffy has come back and, you know, the first thing he does is turn around to Big Mom and say, I'm going to take you down. Which means it's Law wanting to go against Kaido and it's Luffy wanting to go against Big Mom. We've got essentially two big players from the Supernovas wanting to turn around and take on two of the four kings, essentially, leaving only Shanks and Blackbeard as the remaining people. Blackbeard's sort of not officially the title, but yeah, I mean, I don't see any of the Shichibukai standing up against Luffy, considering two of the Shichibukai are Buggy and Boa Hancock. Buggy is definitely not strong enough to fight Luffy. Boa is definitely not going to fight Luffy. But at the end of the day, the balance of power is really going to shift. This arc is a major balance shift. This means that Luffy will have taken out, in major battles, has taken out three of the 7 warlords on his own. He has a further 2. Obviously those 3 will all lost their power. Mori is dead. I'm pretty sure Don Flamingo killed him. Crocodile is now in the wind, and Don Flamingo himself is going to be removed from power, given that Isho has now seen everything that he's doing, all this bad stuff that he's doing, all the innocent lives that he's willing to sacrifice just for the sake of it. The world government cannot turn a blind eye to this. It's pretty much a given. So that's 3 warlords that Luffy has taken out by the end of this arc. And if he takes out Big Mom and Kaido as well, Luffy's position in the world will have shifted to the point where he may actually overtake his father as the most wanted man in the world. Just goes without saying. Anyway, we will leave that at that.